All right, welcome to the beginning of Chapter 5, Writing Linear Equations. Now in Chapter 4, you learned about what a linear equation is and how to graph it using an XY table and a slope-intercept formula. So we are in Chapter 5 going to be writing linear equations in a variety of forms. Okay, there's different ways to do it besides just the slope-intercept. Okay, we're going to use linear models to solve problems, and then we're also going to be modeling data with a line of fit or line of best fit, which goes with scatter plots, okay? A lot of the vocab we are going to be using is right down here in the bottom of your screen, and this is some of the vocab that you'll see on your vocab sheets. So today we are going to be focusing on lesson 5.1, which is writing equations in sloped-intercept form. Now just as a reminder, slope-intercept form is in this form y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, meaning that when I have my b is my starting point, so my y-intercept is where it goes across the y-intercept. So at this point, it's right in this graph, it's right here, it's at +2. Okay, and my slope is my rise over my run. So in this case, it's a negative slope because I can see that my slope is going down. So I'm actually falling 1, and I'm running 1, 2, because that gets me to the next point. Again, falling 1, running 1, 2, making my slope -1 over 2, which then I'm going to write x. My 2 is positive, so I'm going to put a positive sign here, and then y equals. So my formula for this line is y equals -1/2 x plus 2. So in this video, we're going to be talking about a few different things. We're going to be talking about writing an equation given the slope and the y-intercept, given 2 points on a line, and then if we are given any function information, remember function is when we are seeing that f of x stuff, okay? All right, so the first example we're going to do has to do with given the slope and the y-intercept. So in this case, I am looking at a graph here, and it says which equation represents the line shown. So just like I did in earlier in the video, I'm going to look for my y-intercept, and I can see that it's at 3. So I'm going to look at my options here, and the one that has 3's in this the y-intercept spot in its B spot are these two. So automatically I know that C and D are not options. Okay, then I know that my graph is going down 2 and over 5. So I'm rising, or in this case falling 2, and I am running 5. So I'm going to look for a slope that has -2 over 5, and in this case that would be A. So the equation of this line right here is y equals -2/5 x plus 3, with my slope being -2/5 and my intercept being +3. All right. So let's do a couple more examples with that. So if I had to write the equation of the line given the slope and the y-intercept, it tells me right off the bat that slope is 8 and the y-intercept is -7. So I'm going to write it in that y equals mx plus b form again, because that's what slope-intercept form is. Oof, can't write today. Okay, so I am doing y equals, slope is 8, so 8x, and then I can do two things. I can either do plus -7, or I can just write -7. I like to do just -7 because it looks a little cleaner instead of having the plus negative sign here. Okay, so that would be my equation of my line given the slope and the intercept. Okay, same thing with this one. I've got y equals, my slope is 3/4, so I'm going to do 3/4 x. Again, my slope-intercept is -3, so I'm going to just do -3. Make it easier on myself. Okay. All right, the next type of way that we're going to write linear equations is if I am given just 2 points, okay? So I am going to write a equation in slope-intercept form, and that y equals mx plus b again. And I am going to just be given um, 2 points. In this case, my 2 points are 0, -5, and 3, -1. So I have to do 2 things here. Oops. I need to find my y-intercept, and then I need to find my slope. So first I want to do is calculate my slope. So I can do this in 2 different ways. It gives me the graph, so I can physically just look at it and say, oh, between these 2 points, I am rising 1, 2, 3, 4, and running 1, 2, 3. Okay, but if I was not given this graph, if this graph was not here and I was just given 0, -5, and 3, -1, remember that slope formula, this one right here, this is very important, okay? I can plug in my information to that, and again, I get the same slope I had counted off by looking at the picture, 4/3, okay? My next step, after I calculate the slope, is to figure out where it crosses over the y-axis. In this case, I know that it crosses over at -5. So the intercept is -5, which means I can plug in my information now to the y equals mx plus b. Y equals 4/3 x minus 5 would be the solution to my line, given 2 points. All right, the last way that we are going to be writing linear equations is if we are given function information. So it says write an equation for the linear function f with the values f of 0 equals 5 and f of 4 equals 17. So there's a few different pieces of information you need to know right off the bat. Remember from last chapter that this number inside the parentheses are our x values. So in this case, I have an x value of 0, and I have an x value of 4. And I'm writing these in just coordinate points, just because I'm anticipating information, okay? And now the information that it is equal to, so this 5 and this 17, are our y values. So in this case, I have 2 points. I have 0, 5, and I have 4, 17. That's how you determine what your x and your y values are given this function information. Okay, so just like this. All right, next thing I'm going to do is I am going to calculate slope again using my slope formula since I don't have a graph in this case. So I am doing my y value subtracted, so 17 minus 5, 17 minus 5, over 4 over 0. Remember, it always goes y over x, which equals 12 over 4, which I then get 3. Okay. I know that it crosses over the y-axis because if I were to graph this point, it would be 0, 5, so it would be on the y-axis. So I know that my y-intercept is 5, meaning that the equation to my line is going to become y equals 3x plus 5. Okay, so that's what our function would be. To make it a function, remember I'm going to equal it to f of x instead of y. Okay? All right, let's do one last example. The last example is the same thing as before. It says write an equation of the line shown. Okay, so right off the bat, I am going to think, okay, I've got y equals, my intercept is at 1, +1, And I just have to figure out my slope. So I've given 2 points. I'm going to go between this point and this point. I'm dropping 1, 2, so -2. And I am running 1, 2, 3, 4, +4. So I could write my slope as -2 over 4. I'm going to reduce it because it just makes sense to reduce it. So I'm going to go -1/2. I'm going to squeeze it in here. So my equation of my line is going to be y equals -1/2 x plus 1. All right. The next set of questions says, write an equation for a linear function f with the given values. Okay, so I'm just going to do number 4. So the 2 points I'm given, so f of 0 equals -2, so my first coordinate point is going to be 0, -2. My next coordinate point is going to be 8, 4. Okay, 0, -2, 8, 4. If you remember from the steps above, after I write my 2 points, I have to calculate slope. So I'm going to subtract my y's over my x's. So in this case, I have 4 minus -2 over 8 minus 0. Add them up. So 4 plus 2 equals 6. 8 minus 0 equals 8. So my slope, I'm going to reduce it, is going to be 3/4. One of my points shows me the y-intercept. So in this case, 0, -2 is my y-intercept. So I'm going to end up with the function y equals 3/4 x minus 2. All right, if you want some additional practice, you can do number 5 on your own, okay? And then I'm just gonna give you the answer right now. So pause it if you want to try it right now. Otherwise, the answer to number 5 is y equals -1/3 x plus 5. All right, so hopefully you tried it and hopefully you got this as your answer. All right, that's all I have for you for this video. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.